we start with a written one? Give them some time. Okay. There's a couple questions. There's a question here about pilgrimage. How does the pilgrimage change you as a person? And the questioner recognizes this may vary from person to person. I think that's very true. I think it's wonderful to ask different people how the journey affected them. But certainly, Hajj touches so many aspects of the human experience, and in a sense takes a person outside of their comfort zone and their daily habits. You've seen that when people make Hajj, there are rules that are observed during that time that are not observed outside of it. You see the dress that the richest king and the simplest farmer and the most poor of people and the most wealthy of people, the most noble of people, the politically elite, and those from more simple roots, all of these people, during Hajj, you cannot distinguish them. They are dressed essentially alike. The men dress in essentially what is two robes, typically white, two towels, very, very simple garb. And the women also dressed in a simple, understated dress, if you will. And so people all look the same. And that reminds us of a great reality that we forget, that really these distinctions and divisions that we place amongst ourselves sometimes make us forget for the need of that collective conscience and that connection with the fellow human being, because they're a human being. Their right to equal rights, their right to safety and security. And a wonderful example of this was the pilgrimage of Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. Those of you that have read his autobiography, which is a very important work to read. But at Hajj you can see this impact on him. Because even as he found Islam initially through the nation of Islam, he struggled in a very tumultuous time in the history of our nation, right before and at the height of the civil rights movement. His window to Islam was colored by the struggles in this nation and the oppression of people of color. And in fact, perhaps there were elements of black nationalism in his initial practice of Islam. And this is not my analysis, these are his words that shift radically with this journey of Al-Hajj. And he describes how when you saw those concentric circles and the power of that image, and he describes the people from the heart of Africa that have the darkest skin tones, in his words, with the palest of white skin and blue eyes, standing next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, falling on the same floor in worship of one God. His mind was shaken when he saw that, and when he saw that, he could see a different vision and reality for his context in America. And so Hajj, and really other pillars of Islam, such as prayer, but Al-Hajj is one of the strongest ones. And I remember I made a mistake once. In a presentation of Hajj, I was talking about the crowds, and I said, to be honest, recognizing my own privilege, being raised in America, somebody was asking for the crowds, and I tried to find a relatable example for an audience, and I said, well, I guess like Disney, right? It gets really crowded and there's these lines and so on. But in reality, even in crowds, Hajj is nothing like Disney. In order to go to Disney, you're defining a certain socioeconomic class. You're defining a certain geography, right? And there are all these, things that we don't recognize. All of a sudden, when you're thrust into Hajj, I saw a bus that I don't think would make it to the bottom of a driveway that was hailing from Nigeria, right? And to imagine that people, as this comes in the Quran, that call, O Abraham, for Hajj, they will come to you on every mode of transport and on their own feet. They will come from every deep valley, meaning every corner of the globe. I saw a person that was walking with a cane. And we prayed next to one another, and we got to know one another. And he was walking with a horrible limp. And as he was telling me his story, he was up in age. He was, didn't expect to ever return to the journey. And he started talking about his injury, and how he couldn't walk, and how he had been saving his whole life for this journey. And he asked God,